German luxury European cars have been aspirational for most Filipinos. But unfortunately, most of them are just beyond reach. What more an SUV luxury branded German car? But what if you can get a budget luxury German car? This one right here is the Volkswagen T-Cross SE, the cheapest budget German car that you can buy here in the Philippines. Today I'm going to show you around this car and I'm also going to give it a test drive, so stay tuned. The Volkswagen T-Cross in this SE trim comes in a bunch of really quirky colors. One of my favorites would be this particular test unit right here in this yellow-orange color, which Volkswagen calls Tribu. And I'm really loving the styling of this car from the outside with really clean lines, very Volkswagen. It's just very understated with this like honeycomb pattern on the grille. Although there are a lot of blocked out parts, so there are some holes over there, but some parts, yeah, they are like fake vents. LED headlights and also DRLs. Then you also get a fog light with cornering lamps, but only for this SE trim. On the side, you will see just how compact this Volkswagen T-Cross is. If you're familiar with the Volkswagen Tiguan, well, this is its smaller brother. Based off of and sharing the same platform as the Volkswagen Polo hatch and sedan, this car right here is really a good subcompact city cruising option. You got 17-inch rims on this SE trim, which looks really nice wrapped in Nexen tires. You also have these two body lines. They have these creases and dips on it, really nice too, one up here and one down below. This chrome trim though, well, that's very plasticky looking, but I guess if you look at it from afar, it is actually not bad. More chrome here on your door handles with keyless entry for this SE trim, a roof rail, and also rather large wing mirrors with repeaters on them. Towards the rear, the Volkswagen T-Cross gives you an incredibly short overhang, making this one of the easiest cars to park in the city. You do have this blacked out wing up top, really balances out the look, and you have this black piece right here with something red in the middle. Is this a light bar? Absolutely not. It is simply a reflector, which is something I don't understand as to why Volkswagen did that. Nonetheless, it does look good and really adds a little bit more premiumness to this car. These are LED tail lamps, and you also get a rear fog light, but only on one side of the car. What I really appreciate here though would be the T-Cross badge, which looks pretty good. Now, if you do open up this boot area, what you have here is pretty good space, and you can even fold down these second row seats, giving you a not so flat loading bay. However, it is still rather cavernous for a car like this. You can also remove this tonneau cover, and you can even raise up your false floor where you will find your space saver spare tire. So powering the Volkswagen T-Cross is a rather small engine, and this one right here is a 1.5 liter naturally aspirated MPI, as Volkswagen would call it, making 113 horsepower and 145 newton meters of torque, mated to a 6-speed conventional automatic transmission. We step inside the Volkswagen T-Cross and you check the door stud. And as with pretty much any other Volkswagen out there, it sounds magnificent. The interior of this car, while it looks incredibly quirky, the materials, well, they are about what you would expect at this price range. Up top here on your dashboard, that is all hard touch plastic, and even here on the side. But if you do take this SE trim, you do get this really nice and quirky looking body colored trims. And you also have this black gloss piece right here with a lot of dots on it, which looks rather nice. It's a lot better than those faux carbon fiber trims that you usually get with cars. The steering wheel, while it is tilt and telescoping, it is not leather wrapped, but it is multifunction, also with cruise control. Your instrument cluster is rather basic, nothing much about it, but incredibly clear, easy to read. And the star of everything here in the interior, I would say, is this center screen. So this touchscreen right here does come with Apple CarPlay, but no Android Auto. However, it is really nice looking. It just blends into the rest of the dash really, really well, and it looks incredibly sleek and also incredibly responsive. Even your reverse camera on this one, it's one of the clearest out there, although I would appreciate if they could add a little bit more of that swiveling lines. Now you got a couple of air vents right here, more of that body colored trim, a basic AC unit, not even with climate control, and you also have auto stop start for this. You get a USB-A port and a USB-C port, but you only get the USB-C if you step up to this SE trim. The shifter on this one, it's pretty basic with manual mode. However, I love how there is some sort of illumination here at the top. conventional handbrake, 2 tiny cup holders, jug holder on the side, and this SE also gets a panoramic sunroof and 6 airbags. Now the seats on this one, well, they are part leather and part cloth. They're incredibly comfortable and your thigh support is pretty good, but it is manually adjustable for both the driver's side and the passenger side. One thing I love about it though is the headrests. They are incredibly soft. However, they are fixed and not adjustable. And now we move on over to the back of the T-Cross and we check the door thud. Sounds really good. The back seats of this car, they are pretty excellent as well because thigh support is just crazy good. This is one of the best. In fact, at 5'6", I'm almost not reaching the floor if I do stretch out like this. And even the recline of the seats, they are about the right angle, so I'm really loving it. I don't get my own armrest though, which is a bummer, but I do get my own air vents if I step up to this SE trim. I also get a USB-A port and a USB-C port plus a jug holder on the side. Now this car, it can kind of seat 3 people because the center seat is rather wide and the transmission tone isn't that high. However, if I'm a bit taller, maybe 5'10" and above, then I will kind of struggle with headroom because of this panoramic sunroof. Nonetheless, for carrying 3 people here at the back, it's generally okay and a little bit better than some of its competitors. So now we get to drive the Volkswagen T-Cross SE. This car is really comfortable. I mean, the suspension tuning, it's, for the lack of a better comparison, quite similar to what you would get with a Toyota subcompact sedan, which is the Vios. And we all know that despite the Vios's flaw, it is rather comfortable, at least suspension-wise. And this is the same for the Volkswagen T-Cross. You just know that it is a very city-oriented cruiser. And here in the city, it has no problem. Even the engine is pretty decent in the city. It's only when you do drive this car on the highway or if you want to accelerate hard, you floor it, it makes a lot of sound, but then your speedometer doesn't really move much. If you're on the highway especially and you're going with like 60 kilometers per hour, then you want to accelerate to 100. Even if you put the car into its S mode, and even if you're just 1 or 2 in the car, it kind of struggles. I mean, 0 to 100 time in this car, as tested and as claimed by Volkswagen, is around 13.3 seconds, but in reality, it's 0 to 100 in, yes, eventually. Next up would be the NVH of the car. So NVH wise, I can't really complain much because there is only minimal tire noise that enters the cabin, although there is some, and wind noise is actually rather pretty subdued. Vibrations too, not really that much despite the small engine, and harshness, as mentioned earlier, it soaks up the bumps pretty well. Akin to that suspension though, which is comfort tuned, it doesn't really like to turn corners, it doesn't really handle the best, so like changing lanes fast in this one isn't great. However, if you do just want to drive this in a straight line, then you have no problems with the Volkswagen T-Cross. The steering feel of the Volkswagen T-Cross, it's incredibly numb, it's very much disconnected from the road. However, it does prove to be incredibly handy when you are driving this car in its natural habitat, the city, because it is so light and maneuvering this is just so easy. Now, parking this car is also pretty good because the reverse camera is among the clearest in the industry. Next thing would be just how short this car is, and I mean the overhang is really short, so even if you want to make a lot of 3-point turns with your T-Cross, that'll be a piece of cake. How about fuel economy though? Well, the Volkswagen T-Cross in the city can return you a respectable 7.8 kilometers per liter. Not the best, but not bad either. But when you do go up over to the highway, you can do around 15 kilometers per liter. For new drivers looking for a small subcompact SUV and is looking for German quality, robustness, and that slight premium feel, then the Volkswagen T-Cross in this 180 MPI SE trim is a car that you should consider today.